I think I could turn and live with animals. They are so placid and self-contained. I stand and look at them long and long. They do not sweat and whine about their condition. They do not lie awake in the dark and weep for their sins. They do not make me sick discussing their duty to God. Not one is dissatisfied. Not one is demented with the mania of owning things. Not one kneels to another, nor to his kind that lived thousands of years ago. Not one is respectable or industrious over the whole earth.
I've always been fascinated by animals since I was a child. When I was a kid of 2, I lived in India, and I used to insist that my Indian nurse took me to the local zoo twice a day. And then after that, I became an animal collector, and I traveled all over the world getting animals to zoos. And after that, I was lucky enough to be able to start my own zoo here in Jersey. And this is where I live, in the middle of over 1,000 animals. Now, there have been some marvelous poetry written about animals, and I want to introduce you to some of these marvelous poems in the course of this program. The first one is, of course, about a kangaroo. And the kangaroo is the big relation to these little wallabies that we have here. They both come from Australia. And in this poem, it describes the kangaroo very beautifully indeed.
Delicate mother kangaroo sitting up there rabbit-wise, but huge, plum-weighted, and lifting her beautiful slender face, oh, so much more gently and finely lined than a rabbit's or than a hare's. Lifting her face, her sensitive, long, purebred face, her full antipodal eyes, so dark, so big and quiet and remote, having watched so many empty dawns in silent Australia. Her little loose hands and drooping Victorian shoulders, and then her great weight below the waist, her vast pale belly, with a thin young yellow little paw hanging out, and straggle of a long thin ear, like ribbon, like a funny trimming to the middle of her belly. Thin little dangle of an immature paw and one thin ear. Her belly, her big haunches, and in addition, the great muscular python stretch of her tail. She wistfully, sensitively sniffs the air, and then turns, goes off in slow, sad leaps on the long, flat skis of her legs, steered and propelled by that steel-strong snake of a tail. Stops again, half turns, inquisitive to look back, she watches with insatiable wistfulness. Untold centuries of watching for something to come, for a new signal from life in that silent, lost land of the South.
Now, in that poem, Lawrence gave you some lovely descriptions, particularly the description of the hind legs of the kangaroo as being like skis. Well, here we have a bird which is as extraordinary in its own way as a kangaroo. They're flamingos, and you don't wonder that Lewis Carroll used them in Alice in Wonderland as croquet mallets in the famous croquet game that Alice had. We now come to a poem by a man who invents words. He's the father of nonsense poetry, Edward Lear. And in this, I want you to watch out for these special words that he's invented, which never existed in the English language prior to this. For example, he describes pelicans as putting their feet down with a flumpy sound. Isn't that lovely? Watch out for the other ones.
King and queen of the pelicans we, no other bird so grand we see. None but we have feet like fins, with lovely leathery throats and chins. Pluffskin, pelican G, we think no bird so happy as we. Plumpskin, ploshkin, pelican Jill, we think so then, and we thought so still. We live on the Nile we love. By night we sleep on the cliffs above. By day we fish, and at eve we stand on long bare islands of yellow sand. And when the sun sinks slowly down, and the great rock walls grow dark and brown, and the purple river rolls fast and dim, and the ivory ibis star-like skim, wing to wing we dance around, stamping our feet with a flumpy sound, opening our mouths as pelicans ought, and this is the song we nightly snort. Pluffskin, pelican G, we think no bird so happy as we. Plumpskin, ploshkin, pelican Jill, we think so then, and we thought so still.
You know, these beautiful creatures have got a very bad press. Everyone thinks they're slimy, which they're not, and everyone thinks that all snakes are poisonous, which of course is ridiculous, because out of the hundreds of species of snake in the world, very few are poisonous, and even those won't bother you if you don't bother them. Snakes are in fact very useful. Now, the Indian government loses something like £2 million a year because all the Indians go out and every snake they see, they bash it on the head and kill it. And in consequence, all the rats and mice on which the snakes live normally increase in numbers and eat so much rice and grain that the Indian government is losing all this money. Now, the thing about snakes is everyone seems to think they're going to attack. As soon as they see a snake, they say it's going to attack. Well, in actual fact, what all the snake wants to do is to get away from you, because he's just as frightened of you as you are of him. And that's the nice thing about this next poem, that it describes a man from a snake's point of view.
Suddenly, the grass before my feet shakes and becomes alive. The snake twists, almost leaps, graceful even in terror. Smoothness looping back over smoothness, slithers away, disappears, and the grass is again still. And surely by whatever means of communication is available to snakes, the word is passed. Hey, I just met a man, a monster too, must have been, 7 feet tall. So keep away from the long grass, it's dangerous there.
When do you expect these to start breeding now, Shep?
In about a month. Give them another
about
month.
a month.
The male will start to hoot.
And then in a month, we won't be able to come in here, otherwise
No.
he'll attack us.
That's quite right, yes.
How many have we bred now? We've bred a lot, haven't we?
Oh, yes, more than 20.
More than 20,
yes. Oh, yes.
Superbirds, we could repopulate Greenland with them.
Yeah, it's jolly
if we
nice.
wanted to.
Yeah.
Well, now we have a poem about the snowy owl. And it's a marvelous poem because it not only describes how a snowy owl feels, but how the poet looks at a snowy owl. It's a sort of double thing. The beauty of the owl and the way it hunts, and also how a man feels when he's looking at a snowy owl.
Yellow eye, oh yellow eye, yellow as the yellow moon. Out of the black hole of the north, the ice age is flying. The moon is flying low. The moon looms, hunting her hair. The moon drops down, big with frost and hungry as the end of the world. The North Pole, rusty-throated, screeches, and the globe shudders. The globe's eyes have squeezed shut with fear, but the stars are shaking with joy. And look, the hare has a dazzling monument, a big-eyed blizzard standing on feet of black iron. Let us all rejoice in the hare. Snowy owl, oh snowy owl, staring the globe to stillness. The moon flies up. A white mountain is flying. The hare has become an angel.
Now, of course, owls are predators, like so many animals, and they are beautiful hunting machines. And like all the predators, they're pretty fierce. Now, some people have the cheek to say that snowy owls, or lions or leopards or other predators like that are cruel because they go out and they catch antelope, they catch mice and so on. But in fact, they are actually killing in order to live, and it's no different from us eating a chicken or having a leg of lamb for Sunday lunch. But what we do, in fact, sometimes is to kill because animals get in our way. We kill them to get them out of our way. And we have sort of double standards. We have one rule that says we can do this, that, and the other, but the animals can't. And in this next poem, you'll see how that works, how the poet has underlined the fact that in the case of a squirrel, we can kill it and congratulate ourselves on having done so.
Like a small grey coffee pot sits the squirrel. He is not all he should be, kills by dozens trees and eats his red-brown cousins. The keeper, on the other hand, who shot him, is a Christian and loves his enemies, which shows the squirrel was not one of those.
Now that was a rather depressing poem. But then I think our attitude is rather depressing because we as human beings tend to treat nature and all the other animals that live on this planet with us as though we are so superior. We are so much cleverer than they are. And I think this is not altogether true, you know. I wrote a book once called My Family and Other Animals, which you may have read, and in it there was a character called Dr. Theodore Stephanides. Now, when I was young, he was my friend, and he guided me and taught me practically everything I knew. So, in this poem now, this last poem, he, I think, has summed up our attitude as human beings to the rest of the world very cleverly. It's called Epitaph for a Parrot. For 30 years he talked in feathered pride. For 30 years he talked before he died. You say that parrots do not really know the meaning of the words they use. Just so. I grant you that you may be right. But then, do men?